Have you ever wondered how the United States became a global superpower, maintaining a relative peace across the world? What if I told you there's a fascinating story behind it? A tale of wars, diplomacy, economic strategies, and a vision for a new world order. Today, we're diving into the captivating history of Pax Americana, a term that symbolizes the peace and stability orchestrated by the United States post-World War II. Stick around to discover the pivotal moments and intriguing strategies that shaped the modern world as we know it. Origins of Pax Americana. Pax Americana, modeled after the ancient Pax Romana and Pax Britannica, represents a period of relative peace under U.S. dominance that began after World War II. The term encompasses the military, economic, and cultural supremacy of the United States. But to truly understand Pax Americana, we need to rewind to an earlier era. The first whispers of a Pax Americana emerged after the American Civil War. The United States demonstrated its military prowess and established a peaceful order within its borders. This was the beginning of American exceptionalism, a belief that the U.S. held a unique position among nations due to its democratic values and historical evolution. This idea can be traced back to Alexis de Tocqueville, who noted America's special place among nations as a land of immigrants and the first modern democracy. From the end of the American Revolution until the Spanish-American War, U.S. foreign policy was largely regional. However, the late 19th century saw a shift with the rise of new imperialism. Debates between isolationists and imperialists shaped American politics. Notable figures like Andrew Carnegie and Samuel Gompers opposed foreign entanglements, while others like Theodore Roosevelt pushed for a more aggressive foreign policy. The Spanish-American War and its aftermath. The turning point came with the Spanish-American War of 1898. The United States emerged victorious, acquiring territories such as Cuba, Puerto Rico, the Philippines, and Guam. This victory marked the beginning of America's transition from a regional to a global power. The U.S. established a sphere of influence in the Caribbean and Southeast Asia, setting the stage for its future global dominance. The early 20th century saw further expansion of American influence. The U.S. adopted protectionist policies, built up its navy, and under President Theodore Roosevelt, embraced a foreign policy of intervention. The Roosevelt corollary to the Monroe Doctrine asserted the right of the U.S. to intervene in the affairs of Latin American nations to stabilize them. By 1900, the United States had surpassed both the United Kingdom and Germany in industrial capacity and national income. Interwar period and World War II. Despite its growing power, the United States faced criticism for not stepping up as a global leader following the decline of Pax Britannica. The interwar period was marked by protectionism and isolationism, even as the world edged closer to another devastating conflict. President Woodrow Wilson's efforts to promote peace through the League of Nations were thwarted, and the U.S. chose economic strategies over political military entanglements. World War II changed everything. The catastrophic destruction and geopolitical upheaval created a vacuum that the United States was uniquely positioned to fill. Post-war, the U.S. emerged as the world's dominant economic and military power. The Marshall Plan, which transferred billions in economic aid to Western Europe, symbolized the launch of Pax Americana. The Marshall Plan, officially known as the European Recovery Program, was an American initiative passed in 1948 to aid Western Europe. The United States gave over $12 billion, approximately $128 billion in today's dollars, in economic assistance to help rebuild Western European economies after the end of World War II. This plan not only helped to revitalize the European economy, but also served to contain the spread of Soviet communism by stabilizing democratic nations. The Cold War Era. The Cold War Era, 1945 to 1991, was a defining period for Pax Americana. The United States adopted a policy of containment to counter the spread of Soviet communism. This era saw significant international military presence and greater diplomatic involvement by the U.S. The creation of the United Nations, the World Bank, and other international institutions helped solidify America's role as a global leader. During this time, the U.S. leveraged its unparalleled economic and military might to maintain relative peace and stability. The concept of Pax Americana was akin to the Pax Romana, with both periods characterized by relative peace despite ongoing conflicts. The U.S. maintained a robust presence in Europe and Asia, projecting power through alliances like NATO and a global network of military bases. The Berlin airlift of 1948 to 1949 was one of the first major crises of the Cold War. The Soviet Union blocked all ground routes into West Berlin, intending to force the Western Allies out of the city. In response, the United States and its allies organized the Berlin Airlift to supply West Berlin by air, delivering food, fuel, and other essential goods. This operation underscored America's commitment to defending democratic Europe and marked a significant early success for Pax Americana. The Korean War, 1950 to 1953, further solidified America's role as a global police force. The United States, under the auspices of the United Nations, led a coalition to defend South Korea from a North Korean invasion backed by China and the Soviet Union. The conflict ended in an armistice, with Korea remaining divided at the 38th parallel. The war demonstrated the U.S.'s willingness to engage in military action to contain communism, a central tenet of its Cold War strategy. The Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 was another pivotal moment. The discovery of Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. President John F. Kennedy's administration responded with a naval blockade and intense negotiations, eventually leading to the removal of the missiles. This crisis highlighted the precarious nature of the Cold War and the importance of American leadership in maintaining global peace. Post-Cold War and contemporary era. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, the United States enjoyed a unipolar moment, becoming the undisputed global superpower. The modern Pax Americana is marked by military preponderance, economic influence, and a network of alliances. The U.S. continues to play a pivotal role in international institutions, shaping global trade, security, and diplomacy. The Gulf War of 1990 to 1991 showcased the U.S.'s military dominance. In response to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, the United States led a coalition to liberate Kuwait. The conflict was swift and decisive, reinforcing America's position as the global peacekeeper. The September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks marked a significant shift in U.S. foreign policy. The war on terror led to prolonged conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. These wars aimed to dismantle terrorist networks and promote democracy, though they also sparked debates about American interventionism and the true cost of maintaining Pax Americana. In the contemporary era, the United States faces new challenges. The rise of China as an economic and military power, ongoing conflicts in the Middle East, and issues like cyber warfare and climate change complicate the landscape. Despite these challenges, the U.S. remains a central figure in maintaining global order, leveraging its military and economic power to influence international affairs. The concept of Pax Americana is not without its critics. Some view American dominance as imperialistic, pointing to interventions in the Middle East and other regions as evidence of neocolonial ambitions. Despite this, the U.S. continues to advocate for democratic values and human rights, shaping the global order through its foreign policy and international engagement. Cultural and economic influence. Beyond military and political power, Pax Americana is also characterized by cultural and economic influence. American culture, through Hollywood, music, and technology, has a global reach. The spread of American values and lifestyle has had a profound impact on societies worldwide. The Bretton Woods Conference of 1944 established the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. This economic dominance allowed the United States to influence global trade and finance. Institutions like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Trade Organization, WTO, operate within a framework largely shaped by American economic principles. The rise of multinational corporations further exemplifies American economic influence. Companies like Apple, Google, and McDonald's have become global brands, promoting not just products but also American values of innovation and consumerism. A legacy of peace and power. Pax Americana is a complex and multifaceted legacy, rooted in the United States' rise to global dominance. From the aftermath of the Civil War to the Cold War and beyond, the U.S. has shaped the world through a combination of military might, economic strategies, and diplomatic efforts. As we navigate the 21st century, the future of Pax Americana remains uncertain, but its impact on global history is undeniable. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the intriguing history of Pax Americana. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating stories from history. Let us know in the comments what you think about Pax Americana and its legacy. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.